I recently took a short trip to Kentucky's Mammoth Cave National Park. We went on a 4-hour walking tour guided by a park ranger who explained the history and formation of Mammoth Cave, the longest known cave system in the world, with over 420 miles. That's about 676 kilometers of mapped passages so far. Like much of central North America, Kentucky sits on what used to be part of an ancient shallow sea. Because of this marine history, much of the bedrock in this huge area is made up of sedimentary rocks, formed from sediments and minerals settling on the seafloor and eventually lithifying into the stratified layers that you can see exposed in cliffs and road cuts. Since it was a sea, there were many marine organisms whose shells contained high amounts of calcium carbonate. Over millions of years, the breakdown and accumulation of these shells contributed to the formation of limestone, which has the chemical formula CaCO3. An important aspect of limestone is its basic chemistry and its tendency to weather relatively easily, which is very important for soil science in Alberta and much of Western North America. Calcium carbonate is partly responsible for the relatively high pH and good base saturation in many prairie soils. And finely ground limestone is often applied to acidic soils to raise pH and improve nutrient availability for plants. In a lab setting, pure water has a neutral pH of 7.0, but water exposed to the atmosphere is usually slightly acidic because it reacts with carbon dioxide to form carbonic acid. This weak acid can dissolve limestone, breaking it down into its constituent ions. In soil science and geomorphology, we call this chemical weathering. Because of Mammoth Cave's proximity to the Green River, continued downcutting of the river valley has lowered the local water level over geologic time. River water and groundwater can infiltrate the limestone along fractures and bedding planes beneath the protective sandstone cap of the cave, progressively lowering the water table and enlarging subterranean passages. So Mammoth Cave is still an actively evolving karst system today. One of the most interesting things I noticed was the variety of gypsum formations. Gypsum's chemical formula is CaSO4 plus 2H2O, and it forms in Mammoth Cave largely because of the oxidation of pyrite and the surrounding rocks. As mineral-rich water moves through the pores in the limestone, pyrite, which is FeS2, is oxidized to form iron oxide minerals and sulfate, which is SO4 with a charge of 2-. The limestone provides calcium, and when these calcium and sulfate-rich waters slowly evaporate in the cave atmosphere, gypsum crystallizes into delicate rosettes, crusts, and other beautiful forms. In soils, gypsum is sometimes applied to supply calcium, improve soil structure, or help reduce aluminum toxicity in acidic subsoils, even though it does not itself raise soil pH like limestone. The remaining iron oxide minerals show up as reddish dust and coatings on cave walls and floors. As I walked through the cave, I noticed large blocks and ledges that remained even where other rock around them had been more heavily weathered and eroded. These are often more resistant rock layers like sandstone, which stand out as the softer limestone around them dissolves away. This is a bit like what we see in glacial-fluvial parent materials in Canada. As glaciers and meltwater streams deposited sediments, they left a mix of grain sizes, from fine material to larger stones and boulders, creating very rocky surfaces along some modern river valleys. Another interesting feature I saw were concretions, sometimes called ironstone in soil science. These are hard, often rounded masses where iron and other minerals have cemented the sediment together more strongly than the surrounding rock. In marine settings, they can be associated with zones of reducing conditions and past microbial activity that concentrated iron. In Alberta soils, we sometimes find similar iron-rich nodules and can mistake them for iron mottles, even though mottles usually reflect current or recent fluctuating water tables and redox conditions in the soil profile. There were a few bats, which were smaller than I expected. The ranger told us that several different species of bats make Mammoth Cave their home. We also saw cave crickets. Cave crickets live in the cool, humid cave environment, but they go outside at night to feed, and then return to the cave for shelter during the day. When I asked the cave ranger about this, he told me that these crickets have a special bacteria in their gut that helps them digest food, but if they go outside too much and expose themselves to sunlight, this microbe can grow too fast and make the cave crickets explode. I'm not sure if it's true, but I'll have to do some more research. Towards the end of the tour, I was able to see today's river level in the cave, roughly 100 feet below where we were standing near the surface entrance area. It was also great to see Kentucky's soils, which in many areas are strongly weathered upland forest soils, often classified as alpha sols and altisols in the U.S. system. These soils reflect long periods of weathering and leaching, leaving iron and aluminum oxides and low-activity clays behind, while many primary minerals and nutrients have been depleted. Unlike much of Canada, this region was not covered by the most recent continental glaciation, so its soils were not kind of reset by ice sheets and have had a long continuous time to develop on the underlying sedimentary bedrock. We rarely, if ever, see these types of soils in Canada. Mammoth Cave has over 420 miles of mapped passages, making it the longest known cave system in the world, and new segments are still being discovered. It is an amazing geological formation and an important part of American geology, history, and culture, recognized internationally as a World Heritage Site and Biosphere Reserve. Our tour was made extra special by the park rangers' explanations and stories.